is going live. Let's see what we got. We have an OCS game currently taking place between Silver Glen and Polymers, and I wanted to jump right into that, so we'll circle back to all the usual housekeeping stuff just a couple minutes. But if I'm not mistaken, Silver Glen is pretty close to the top of the leaderboard here. He's playing Imperial Entanglements at the top of the screen, taking on Polymers. He's playing Hitco here at the bottom of the screen. Let me just see if I can't get some some scoring real quick here. Silver Glen is 8-2. He's got a just under 35% win percentage. So probably not going to get it done for this month. If he were to win out and get the 10-2, he'd probably still be behind more than a few people who've put up some pretty good numbers. But obviously he's a top player and he's going to continue to challenge the top of the leaderboard. And he's playing Imperial Entanglements, which is not a deck we get to see as often. It's starting to pick up some popularity again after the changes to RAL Ops. So he's got Tarkin's Bounty. He uses Tarkin's Bounty probably to get the occupation there. So now the objective's flipped. He's holding 3 ground sites with ATSTs and ATATs. And while he's behind on Life Force, 18 and 7 for 25, so he's down about 8 cards, 18 to 26 here. They both have about the same amount of cards in hand. He is increasing his damage output significantly. He now occupies 4 battlegrounds. He's got drains at 2 of them at least. This one looks like it has a projection of a Skywalker on it. Oh, that's Prophecy. Okay, so that's Prophecy of the Force, not projection of a Skywalker. So he's got drains of 1, 1, and 1. He's blocked this drain, so this will stay here now, so that'll be a drain of 2. And he's got the occupation damage threatening 4, as long as the objective stays on the 7 side. So certainly looks to be an advantageous position for him. He got, slow start, but once IE kind of gets up and running, and they get all this big blue on the table, it can be difficult to deal with. And Polymers is going to have his work cut out for him here. He's going to add a few more pilots up in space. Let's see who we've got on this Devastator. We've got Thrawn. He just added Colonel Wolffuel Laren and DS615. So both of these guys with Imperial Arrest Order out are forfeit 7. So he's got plenty of extra forfeit fodder. He's got Thrawn giving him a second Battle Destiny there. And it looks like we're going with Hera, Corran, Horn, and Philo on the Tantive. So power difference, Dark Side slightly ahead. They are both getting 2 Battle Destiny here. But obviously, Darkseid has no interest in battling in these situations, and we see Silver Glen kind of pass the turn here. Looks like he's got the maintenance on Blizzard 4. He's now significantly out-damaging Polymers, so he's got no interest in battling. He's not trying to remove characters. He's trying to stabilize his space to hold the system and protect the occupation. He's going to do his damage here on the ground, and these ATSTs, several of them move as a react. Blizzard Scout 1 does. This one, Blizzard Tempest Scout 2, moves as a react anywhere, and I think this one does as well. Yep. A couple of them say that they only move to Forest or an Endor site as a react, but several of them also just move anywhere as a react. So if by some miracle a whole bunch of stuff were to show up here and really threaten, Luke and Blizzard 2 and whatnot, he could react one or both of these ATSTs over, and he did save a couple force to do that. Particularly here might be a good possibility as well. If he wants to keep Blizzard 4 on the table right now, he can react one of these 2 over, and that would give him additional power and give him something to forfeit so he could keep Yeah, so he's going to react this Tempest Scout over. Smart move by Silverglen, taking advantage of all the extra game text. Now, not only does he add additional power, so basically this is kind of a break even at this point because Obi forfeits for 8, so Obi covers up to 13, which is the difference between them. That's a pretty terrible draw. He's going to Jedi Levitt, though, fortunately. Yoshi, thank you for renewing your subscription. I did mail your stuff. It went out today. You should get it in a couple days. Sorry for the delay, but you should get your Twitch subscription foil and your orange poker chip for your 12 months. And he redraws into Yoda, Keeper of the Peace. So he's only drawing a 1 here, so chances are he's taken the couple of overflow. Darkseid has a tendency to draw 4s in Imperial Entanglements. Once they start thinning out their deck and get most of their big blue and pilots out of the way, they have a tendency to draw some 4s. This is going to get worse because I didn't realize the guys he has on this are Sergeant Barrack and Sergeant Irol. So now he gets a destiny to draw and subtract. It's a 2. So he subtracts 2. So Obi does not cover all of it, and Obi has to eat a couple of forfeit here. He's going to Hoojix it. And then because the Battle Destiny was a 1 and he subtracted a 2, Darkseid loses nothing there. So that was a very unsuccessful battle. And Obi basically just died for nothing. Kind of like in the movies. And here we have a Tempest Scout 6 coming down as a react now, providing a little extra power and some additional forfeit as well. This guy forfeits for 4. He deploys -2 as a react, so he deploys for 1. So lots of AT-STs in this build for Silverglen. Going to put a lot of cards on the table. Maybe not the best thing to use in like a match play scenario, but at the same point in time, it's a Darkseid deck that can win games. And sometimes that's just win. Just win, baby. That's all you need, right? All right, so Lightside draws a 6. That's going to get Evax because Evax is forfeit 7 with arrest order. Luke's immune, so there's no overflow or whatnot here, but Evax will go, and this will still leave him 4 ability. And he certainly has some options for ways to move people around and whatnot. And we'll see if he wants to battle in space as well. So yeah, Polymer's deployed Chewie up in space. I guess to add extra forfeit fodder in case he needs to protect his Tantive. And Silverglen's going to use Justice and pick up an Imperial Command here. So both sides will be limited to just 1 Destiny draw. Lightside draws the 5. That'll get rid of probably Colonel Wolf Yularen. He's got the least useful game text in this scenario. And Darkseid draws a 3, which will get rid of probably Philo here, I would bet. She's just forfeit 4. Nope, he loses Chewie with Bowcaster instead. Yeah, we don't know if we've seen any tramples or anything go by. You'd assume a deck like this is running at least 1, probably 2 tramples, especially for someone like Chewie. But Chewie on the ground probably could have gotten a lot more accomplished. So I'm a little surprised like Chewie didn't go down with Obi to shoot or here with Luke to shoot. I feel like that would have possibly been a little bit more productive. Now, again, we don't know if Silverglen has the trample, if we've seen it circle through already, if it's already in the lost pile. We're jumping into this game a little late, so maybe there's some information we don't know, and maybe there's a perimeter scan that Polymers is looking for first, but in this particular matchup, it seems there's a lot of prime targets for Chewie, so I'm very surprised that he ended up in space in that last scenario. And this is going to be a very painful turn for Polymers, as he's going to get hit for 4 damage from occupation and then drained for 4 at these 3 sites. So he's going to lose 8 cards here. And just like that, he's actually going to end up being behind at the end of this turn, I think. You know, he had a small lead going into last turn, but he didn't drain anywhere and did no damage to his opponent. He deployed a couple cards, was unsuccessful in a few battles, and now he's taken 8 damage back. And this is probably going to start to spell the beginning of the end here. I think the only thing that's really missing from Silver Glen right now, and again, he's going to have a chance to use his objective here and peek at the 5 cards in his reserve deck and take the best one. And also see what's in there. He may be able to also use battle deployment here if he has any more combat vehicles left. You could possibly fish one of them out. Maybe there's a Tempest 1 or something. Or maybe one of these other scouts. We've got 3, that's 2. There's Blizzard Scout 1, and 6 is already on the table. Probably not any more Tempest Scouts. There's a possibility Marquand or Tempest 1 could be floating around in there as well, but usually you just take the lowest destiny. If you're at this point, if there's not anything in there that's helpful to you, just take out the lowest destiny card, make your battle destinies as solid as possible, and then he'll just try and, you know, win some battles or stay alive for another turn or two just so he can keep pushing out the damage. And again, like we said, oh, it looks like they are exactly tied. 17-17 with now Silverland deploying an extra card from hand. And he's going to deploy Arnett to the desert. And he's going to pass the turn. Polymers is going to pop Walkling and just retrieve a force and put a 5 back where he can easily get to it, but it'll be curious to see exactly what he does with that 5, what he's got left in his hand. We saw him top deck a couple characters last turn as well. And there's always the possibility, of course, he continues to try and battle in space. With Imperial Justice, that's going to be difficult because he's got one more pickup here to limit them both to 1. We also saw last turn he picked up an Imperial Command, so he could just use the command, limit his opponent to 1, and then draw 2 himself. And everybody's going to get out of the Blizzard Scout. Arnett's going to get in. This isn't his, though. Tempest Scout 1 is his. He's going to shuttle the Biker Scouts up to the system now. Okay. That works. That will help keep that Devastator alive even longer. As again, we saw what Sergeant Barrack does when he works in either arena, so when he's in battle, he draws Destiny and subtracts that from opponent's attrition and total power, similar to the Bright Hope virtual that we see Lightside use quite often in a number of decks. And then he's going to flip-flop some stuff around. So Arnett, he only draws when he's piloting Tempest Scout 1, but he does stop the opponent from reacting away. But he's going to move, okay, so he moves Tempest Scout 6 over, so he's getting Battle Destiny here. This has a permanent pilot, so he's getting Battle Destiny here and here. And again, these guys can move as reacts if necessary. Yeah, looks like he's not playing. This one moves as a react for free, so that's even better. So, yeah, he can spread out a little bit and then adjust wherever he needs. It's a very difficult build to do much against, unless you happen to have somebody who says opponent may not react, and then you can catch him a little off guard sometimes. But Polymer's definitely in some board position issues here. As we mentioned, he's taken 8 damage a turn, so he's going to need to do something pretty drastic to change the status quo here. Alright, there's a Ray in space. So he deploys Jin. She's going to block one of these drains. Currently, she's blocking the smallest, one of the smaller drains. Prophecy is here. This is doing 2 damage at this site. But I guess he's hoping that this will move at some point. And there's Lando in space as well. He's going to drop a card from hand. So he's going to battle here. It looks like he's going to force his opponent. Yeah, see, I don't. This is just a bad situation because battling isn't going to get him very far, but at the same point in time, he's not doing any damage, so he has to try something. So we'll see if his opponent just plays the command, which he does. And there is the command, which does get grabbed. So dark side getting 2 destiny, light side getting 1. Ray will add 1 to the total, and then the biker scouts will draw and subtract from that total. So light side's sitting on a 4 right now. And dark side's probably going to draw a whole bunch of 4s here. Oh, it's even worse. So they get a 10 out of their battle destiny, and we'll see what they subtract now. And see if they even have to lose anything. Yep, he draws a 5, so they lose nothing again. Those biker scouts, when they get together like that, they can be real tough to deal with. Ming, thank you for renewing your subscription for month number 8, closing in. Just a few more months to go to get that 12-month Twitch foil subscription bonus and the orange poker chip. I think we're going to see this game wrapping up here pretty soon. There's not a whole lot left for Polymers to do. Like I said, IE can be pretty tough once it gets up and running, but he's going to shuttle Luke up now at this point. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's going to be even worse. So he's still going to take 8 damage. He's got 18 force left, so he's going to be down to 10 after he's done here. Silverglenn's just going to pile on the damage. Doesn't need to lose anything in space. Doesn't need to initiate any battles. Really just going to... He's found himself a nice little pile of good destiny, which is what he drew last turn, so he can just go ahead and sort of sit on that. Sit on the lead and just kind of run out the clock here. Hey, Belugo, thank you for renewing your subscription for month number 7. Always happy to have the Twitch subscription renewals. That's that purple button in the top right corner of your screen. And if you have a Twitch Prime, if you have an Amazon Prime account, you get 1 free Twitch subscription a month, which we would very much appreciate if you used on our channel, since we're probably one of your favorite Twitch streamers, if you're watching this. There's an extra biker scout just for poops and giggles. And honestly, he could just pass at this point. Unless he's got whatever the new version of Imperial Domination is to put in play here to, win a battle and retrieve a guy or two to up his differential. There's really nothing else that Silverglenn needs to do at this point. So I think we're going to... Oh, he's got no troopers left to retrieve. I know, so at this point he almost wants to lose a guy in a battle, even though he could be immune to the attrition or the forfeit or whatever. Just to put a guy in his loss pile so he can cycle them back into his differential. Probably one of our favorites. Oh, that's very nice, Chris Kelly. That we're definitely well. The channel's definitely one of your favorites. So I know you like that other show better since you're on it as a guest all the time. All right. We'll take a look here and see what Polymers has for a last-ditch effort, but we're going to go ahead and probably move this along, and we'll hop back into the lobby and do our regular show beginning stuff just to see what we've got going on. He's got one card left on Justice over there, so I'm sure he'll pick it up here, and he does. And this will probably wrap things up. So this time he hit a 5. But because of Justice, Luke does not modify it, so it's just a 5. And there's the 5 for light side here. I'm sorry, for dark side. So they both draw 5s. And there's an Emperor to draw and subtract, so well played by Silver Glenn, tracking around, setting up the right destinies, and leaving him in the right position. So once again, the Biker Scouts prevent him from taking any battle damage or attrition in space. He's got nothing to lose, and that's gonna do it for this one. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna call this. We're gonna hop out and get back into the old lobby here. We'll take a look at our standings and our scoreboard. Silver Glenn is here at 26 points with 10 games. He can get to 32 and get near the top. Excuse me. But he's going to come up with just a little short this month. But looking at some of the other guys, Tom Damon sitting here at 10-0. He still has an opportunity to win out, get to 36, or win one of his next two, and at least get into this 34 here. He's got a very low win percentage, though. So he would only get, if he loses the game, best he can currently do, he'd be in second. And then he's at risk of one of these other guys coming along and bumping him out here. Wayne Cullen, look at Wayne go. Wayne's 9-1 this month. Awesome job, Wayne. I caught part of his game last night against Chris Kelly, where it looks like the two of them have been playing similar dark side decks, and Wayne certainly knew what to do with his Yavin 4 deck last night. And we got Paul. Paul's at 9-0. So Silver Glen may not be the top UK player at the end of this month. If Paul continues to have his way, I'm sure Paul would love to screenshot this right now and be like, haha, look at how I'm ahead of you, Silver Glen. And save that. And that he can certainly just notice this. Jesus, Scott, what the whew. Talk about a rough month. Maybe you should watch my show. Get some tips. It's actually initially why this show started 2 years ago. Was the first month a couple of guys went 0-12 in the OCS and sent me some game links and said, "What am I doing wrong? How can I get better?" And then here we are 2 years later and 73 episodes. Uh, you know, trying to provide some content to help players improve their overall skills. We know the advocate has a lot of other things on his mind, so sometimes deck choice is certainly always a question mark with him, rather than so much in-game playing ability and mistakes. A lot of times with him, it comes down to deck building options. But some other guys here, Retwin, and so we got Beefred and Nick sitting at 8-1. They still have a chance to make a run and win out and get to 11-1. They're going to need to improve their strength of schedules, though. And I think that's about it. I think everybody else at this point has too many games left to play, or is pretty much just about done for the month. He's going to get to his 32 points. Al's 4-0, but he's got a lot of games left to play in just a couple days. So Wayne was kind enough to give me his deck. Oh, that's nice. It was fun. You're now accepting applications for next month's decks too. So, so Chris, so this month you've only played the same two decks, and they were gifted to you by somebody else. That's pretty clever. Do you get to choose which decks you use? Can I just like send you like my, I don't know, Mind What You Have Learned and oh god, My Kind of Scum? I'll make you play those two decks for March. But so still not too late to still get into the OCS. You can of course still buy the season pass. Buying February only at this point. If you think you can play, at least 8 games or so in the next 4 or 5 days, that could still be worth your $10. But you can still buy the season pass, which is all 7 months for $50. You might be able to get a couple games for February just to get on the board, and then obviously still get March for free. Um, because they're 7 months and $10 a month. So it's a $70 prize value for just $50. So that's what's going on now. We'll keep an eye out for any other possible games that might take place in the next few minutes here while we circle back and go over what else is happening in our Star Wars world. So, Match Play Championship, we'll promote that, of course. That's coming up here in just a few weeks, just under 2 months now. Pre-registration, or registration for this event, you have to sign up in advance because we do a bracket. That is due by the 29th. We still have the same 26 players. We haven't moved in the last week or so. I know you guys are out there. I know you're planning on coming to the event. Sign the hell up. Come on. Let's get it done. Um, Here's the hotel booking link. You've only got about 3 weeks left to book your room at the discounted rate. I believe the regular hotel rate is like 150, 160 bucks a night for a room. The group discounted rate is only like 115, I think. So, or 119 per night. So it's a pretty decent discount. And again, you've only got about 3 weeks left to do that. So make sure you get your room booked. And of course, there will be some new cards for the event. They've slowly been spoiled between set 12 and we did one last week. The Holo Theater show did one 2 weeks ago. They did 2 weeks ago. And then they did one last week as well when they were interviewing the Jawa Cup champion. He got to spoil a card. So I did also post the scheduled events and prize info. Realized this thread had not been copied over from last year's event. So if somebody had asked because they're planning on trying to drive up from Maryland for the day, but we start early because it is a long day because there are, hour and 15 minutes per game as opposed to the usual hour. So you get plenty of time within the bracket. So we start at 10 a.m. We try to start at 10 a.m. We aim to start at 10 a.m. We're getting better now that deck lists can be submitted electronically. This, used to be like 10:30, 10:45, when Kevin Shannon would show up in his slippers with his handwritten deck lists, or somebody would come down with them written on a pizza box. But now that these can be submitted electronically, we're getting closer to this 10 a.m. start time. We don't have players standing around as much. We do our quick announcements. We get started by 10, 10:15, and get everybody off and playing. So that way we can get into all the other stuff that happens later, like the consolation event. I do need to update this. Because this is from last year. I do need to change that. I don't know yet. We don't know yet whether it'll be a Swiss event or a bracket event. What happens if when you have weird numbers, if you have the number of buys and things like that, the closer you get to a full bracket, the easier it makes this to do a second bracket tournament. Um, but if that is not the case, then it'll be a six-game Swiss event, and that'll allow players to, as they finish even their round two matchups, possibly also to jump in a little late, so they can still get some more Star Wars going on Saturday. Sunday's all your day twos, your top four of the two brackets of the two tournaments, the consolation event, the consolation bracket, we'll call it, and the main event bracket, main event consolation event. And then their Sunday is a separate tournament, also a six-game Swiss with differential scoring, because players like to drop as their day is not going well and catch their flights or start the long drive back home. So still plenty of events to participate in for the weekend, even if if you're nervous about this bracket thing, thinking, oh, well, I'm just going to drive all that way, play, some world champion guy in the first round, get my butt kicked, and then what the hell do I do? I just spent $40 and, whatever else. It's like, well, there's a second separate tournament, and then there's a Sunday tournament, and then there's, board games and stuff going on here. Sometimes there's a late night, like Secret Squirrel sealed deck tournament that you can jump into. You've got the team event on Friday night, where maybe you can get a chance at winning a mug. So lots of stuff going on. Plus, you get to meet your favorite Star Wars online personalities in person, which is always a good idea. It's a good time. Come out and play, even if you've only played online. Come to one of our live events. You can borrow cards to build decks. You can ask people to build you complete decks. Just, hey, can anyone help me build decks? I don't own any physical cards. We get a couple of people like that every year. Somebody will say, sure, what do you need? And you'll send them a list, and they will build that deck for you. And you show up at the tournament, and they say, hey, nice to meet you. Here's this deck. Make sure I get all these cards back. And if you don't, well, then we track you down on the internet. Skin you alive. No. Haven't had any issues with that in the past, and I don't expect it to be a trend in the future either. Two-time NPC champion Tom Kelly doesn't own any real cards. The only real cards he owns are defensive shields. He has his own set of shields. He shows up with those, and somebody else builds his decks for him. And he's won two NPCs and was in the finals last year, where ironically enough, he lost to the guy who builds his decks. So, always a good time. Just had somebody at the Endor Grand Prix, Stubley, Connor, made the final four of the Endor Grand Prix. 41 players in attendance. He went all the way to the final four. First time ever playing in a live event. So, we might jump into this GEMP PC round 2 game. That's the other thing that's going on. Let's take a look at that bracket real quick. The GEMP PC is still going on. We've already had a couple upsets in the first round. Hollow Theater streamer Dan Tartaglione lost in the first round and will not be moving on to play Mike Turner. Instead, we've got Gamolka advancing. Coffee Pass is already into the Sweet 16. We saw that last week. Tom Damon 10-0 in the OCS, moving on as well. The guy who's currently sitting at 11-1, taking on Angrath. This had a personal situation. Angrath posted on the forums that unfortunately his mother passed away the last week, so this match is everybody else has moved on to round 2. They are still trying to finish up their round 1 match, but he did win game 1, I believe, the other night. It was Watch Your Step against Huntdown. I caught part of that game. I don't know what the final outcome was, but it looked like he was going to win by about a dozen. Taco Bill and Yodad. These guys could actually just drive and play in person, both in Maryland. We've got a few other games here. Kimura advancing to the Sweet 16 already, finishing up his game over Killer Kiwi. Get some other interesting matchups here. Adam Trunzo and CRG, both Midwest guys. Wisconsin, Minnesota. I'm sure they might have played a few once or twice in some of the Bespin region events. And we've got Batmouse and Wayne. And then the game, Dylan also already advanced into the Sweet 16. But this is the game right here that I just saw get thrown up between Spidey Guy and Brad Kipple, Casey and Brad. So we will hop into that in a minute and check that out. Let's see what we got going on. We got Ralops. We got no idea. That's kind of what I thought we were going to get, at least out of Brad, was going to be no idea. We'll see if Casey's prepared for it with something there. I don't have any good game links this week either, so this actually works out really well. We'll kind of watch a game live for a while and, chat about it a little bit. And any other questions you guys might have, just go ahead and post them in the chat about what's going on in the old Star Wars universe, and we'll go from there. But sign up for the NPC if you haven't. Seriously. Once that ball starts to get rolling, I know it's going to happen. It's going to be like, March 16th, and a bunch of you are going to be like, oh no, I forgot to book my room. And then it's going to be like March 25th or 27th, and it'll all be, hey, I forgot I haven't signed up yet, crap. And we're going to get like 20 people sign up the last day, when you've known for 6 weeks that, you're coming to the event. So just get her done. Get some momentum. Get things going again. All right, so let's see what we got from Casey. Ralops. He started the new Insignificant Rebellion. This is the one that lets you exchange cards. They move that text. I've seen a couple people floating this card, and they'll start, mob points or something else as their effect. Because you don't necessarily need this right away, right? You don't need it. It doesn't do anything until you actually are going to start battling. And the first couple turns, you're probably not going to battle. So if you have, a force push or two or some other ways to get some cards out of your deck, I've seen people just float this and they find it later. And then he's got the usual arrest order, secret plan, and/or shield. And he also picked up decree already. On Brad's side, we got a little bit of variation from the norm. He has the insurrection, he has the 10 men, but he opted to go with rebellions are built on hope instead, which gives him the once per game Dantooine pull. And that also says your capital starships deploy -2 here. So a little bit of tech. He's using this to pull Dantooine. Then he's using the objective to pull capitals like the Bright Hope, Profundity, Tantive 4 for cheaper, for -2. He can kind of get them out of his deck, build up a little bit, and then possibly move to help, lock down Scarif or whatever. But he's setting up here in a non-battleground and getting the ships out of the deck while he can and deploying them cheaper, which is pretty smart. And then figuring out where they need to go. Do they need to go to Scarif to occupy the battleground? Do they need to go to, like, Raltier in this case to help prevent the deck from flipping or from battling or whatnot? So, we're going to get Vanden Willard. Once per turn, if stolen data tapes delivered, a system liberated, or Stardust on your spy. So he's got, in this case, he does work. Place a card from hand in use pile, draw a top card of reserve deck. So he's got the 3PO text. And once per game, he can place your just lost Alderaanian in used pile. And who does he happen to be parked out with? Hey, an Alderaanian. And a couple Alderaanians here right off the bat. I wonder if we'll see a Bail Organa in this deck as well to help boost some, give some force drain bonuses. That could be interesting. Way for No Idea to help increase its damage output. Not that it really needs it, but if you can accelerate the game a turn or two, that might not be a bad idea. Plus, Bail Organa has some side benefits of protecting your capital ship or corvette or whatever that he's on from getting shot at. All right, looks like Casey's going to go for the flip here. We've got Ozzel to one site. We've got a patrol to a site. These guys are going to docking by transit over to here, I'm sure. And that'll give him the flip, and then he'll probably consolidate Yep. All right. I'm going to go clear my throat for a second. I'll be right back. All right. So let's see what we missed. All right. So let's see where we're at. All right. So Casey moved over. He flipped. He consolidated at the two sites like we expected. Brad did a ping drain. He did not force drain, which is weird because neither side pulled battle plan. Oh, because Ralops is flipped. That's right. So this is only a drain of one. So, yeah. So now he's going to drop Saw. Saw says opponent may not reduce your force drains here. This is also the beach where it's a force drain plus one. And then we'll probably see these guys slide out. The objective is also flipped because he's now at two Scarif locations. Um, he just has to occupy two. I was a little curious if Brad would hold off on flipping, and he might flip back. He might move out and then flip back to the zero side, just to get more ships out of his deck with the setup he was building. But he's going to put a card back with Willard. It's interesting. Yeah, he used 10 men to get Saw. So he could have used, if he had more ships and he wanted to put them out, he could use the objective first, deploy the ship, whatever, to Scarif, and then pulled Saw, and then moved these guys out. He's got the Profundity in hand now. He'll drop that cheaper. All right. All right, so he's going Torn far to the site. He can move the ships to Raltier and then shuttle Torn far up to the Bright Hope after he flips him back. It's just going to make Casey keep working for it. It's a problem with no idea and decks that play a lot of characters like Diplo as well. When you go for the quick flip, you leave your opponent lots of sites that they can use to flip you back just as easily as you flip. So then you kind of spent your whole turn and didn't necessarily accomplish a whole lot. Yep, there's the Bright Hope. That'll flip him back. So he can shuttle up Torn Far, who has an added benefit on the Bright Hope. Total battle destiny here is +1, +2 if she's piloting a transport. And then she has the added bonus of doing stuff of retrieving pilots. Rebel of ability less than 3 forfeited from same location this turn. And since you've got Insurrection out, your rebels of ability less than 3 get a +2 forfeit bonus. So a lot of them forfeit for 6 or 7. So you forfeit one of them to cover 6 or 7, and then use her to retrieve them. You're retrieving from the lost pile, or you stack on evac. So if you have evac out and you're picking up and you're running out of cards on it or whatnot, you can just stack the guy from the lost pile on evac to then give you additional ways to limit battle destinies. She's a strong card. We don't see her played all that often, but you get her on the Bright Hope, and you got some business going here. So she's adding extra power. She's adding 2 to the total battle destiny there. Bright Hope and the Profundity are drawing and subtracting from your opponent's destiny. Okay, so we're going to get Vader in the shuttle. That's the Emperor's shuttle, with the Emperor aboard now. So that's going to be 2 battle destiny. He's also going to lock out his opponent here from controlling this. So now he can throw anybody else down, flip the objective back, which is what he just did. And now if he battles, he's adding 4 to his total. And he's got a ship that's completely immune to attrition. And he's got now he's up to 5. And he's got a Vader. This is the virtual Vader, who subtracts 2 from a just drawn destiny. And that's any just drawn destiny during battle. So Weapon Destiny or Bright Hope Destiny. That is especially important when your opponent does things like evac control, which says battle destinies cannot be modified, and you're just like, well, that sucks. I don't get to use Vader this turn. Use Vader on the Bright Hope draw, or the Weapon Destiny draw, or whatever. So Darkseid's going to draw 2 battle destiny here, and then they're going to add 5 to the total. So we've got 6, and 5 is going to be 11. Bright Hope forfeits for 5. Torn Far goes for 5. So it's going to have to be Profundity for 8, and Profundity and Torn, most likely. If I were Casey, I would pass on that. Let him have the 3, and then subtract from the Bright Hope draw to make sure you maximize what he has to lose. Because if he subtracts from, if he gets a decent destiny with the attrition, like I said, he's at 11. If he draws a 3 and subtracts that and it doesn't get modified, then the Profundity would be the only thing that would have to die. It's a 2. So you subtract that down to 0 and hope he doesn't have a Jedi Love. So you win the battle, you take no battle damage, you're completely immune to it, and now he's got to lose 2 things. And that was a very good turn for Darkseid. And then he moves the Emperor's shuttle away. This thing only has hyperspeed 3, so he can't go to Scarif if he wanted to. Instead, he's going to go to Kurita. He's using the Stormtrooper cadets here, so we'll show you what that text does in a second. So Kurita says, if you occupy once during each of your control phases, you can lose a force to retrieve a trooper into hand. And we notice that he's playing the reacting trooper, the Stormtrooper Patrol, so you can lose a force and retrieve them right back into hand, which is pretty strong. He's also got the Stormtrooper Cadet. Once per turn, that's not the important part. When forfeited at same site as an Imperial leader or non-cadet trooper, so not another one of these guys, satisfies all remaining attrition against you. So most of these guys are leaders. Piet, Ozzel, Colonel David, they're all leaders. You also have the patrols, because it doesn't say non-unique or unique trooper, it just says non-cadet trooper. So this cadet with the patrols and things like that, there's lots of things for him to pair up with to cover all attrition. We used to see this guy all the time. You'd park Veers on Blizzard 2 or something and then throw him out as a passenger. And if by some miracle they managed to crack your immunity to attrition of your Blizzard Walker, you just throw this guy away. Then you just retrieve him into hand next turn. With the Karita site, during each of your control phases, so they battle you, you throw that guy away, you lose a force, take him back into hand, or redeploy him on your Blizzard Scout. We used to see that a lot of times in Set Your Course, just as an alternative to using the Emperor or Darth Sidious or something like that, that they could actually hit with weapons at the docking bay. You'd park Veers in Blizzard 2 with a cadet on it, just an alternative way. A little more card intensive, a little more combo tastic, but it was also a bit more difficult because of the ability to loop text through Karita to get rid of. Alright, so we get some damage from the Stardust. He top decks the Masterful Move. We got the Tantive from the reserve deck here. And he's going to drop Cassian to the site. So Cassian is -1 because there's another guy on the table, plus the 10 men. He deploys minus if there's a rebel leader on table. Yep. Oh, he's going to stay ground. I thought he might try to do the same thing again, but instead we're going to get Bodhi. Taniv's going to move over. That's going to keep this as a battleground. We also get Sabine. Sabine is awesome in this style of deck. First off, she forfeits for 8 with Insurrection, so 3/8 is pretty solid. And then when she wins battles against Imperials, or if you happen to have an extra rebel or 2 with her, your opponent loses 2 force. So pretty strong text on that. I don't know if this weapon thing works on her. I don't know if that has ever been fixed. I know Jodocast had issues with firing blasters repeatedly and things, and she has similar text. I've never tried that part of her text, so I'm not 100% sure if that works properly. Leia's going to move over. That's going to flip the objective back to the 7 side here. Casey's got 8 cards. Casey's going to pull Firepower because he deployed and didn't battle, and he's going to use that force and retrieve the Masterful Move that he lost. And now we're going to get some drains. 1, 2, 3, 4. So both sides set up and doing some damage potentially this turn coming up. Casey's doing 4 damage on his side, plus he's probably going to attack somewhere. Or just try to flip back. He just needs to. Opponent doesn't have to control any, so if he moves back to Raltier and then he moves one guy over here to block, that would flip him back, and then he could shuffle other people around, or he could just deploy a bunch more guys here or more space up here, and that would also take care of it. Brad takes 4 damage. He top decks Solo, combined fleet action, Baze Malbus with cannon, and a rebel barrier. Either you guys went really quiet in the chat or my chat froze up again. So let's hit refresh. Alex, thank you for the follow. Somebody else followed earlier and I missed it because it didn't show up in chat, so I'm just refreshing. So if you said anything in chat in the last 2 or 3 minutes, I'm sorry I missed it. I'm going to hit refresh here. Looks like my chat comments stopped coming through. So I apologize for that. It happens every once in a while with Twitch. I'm not 100% sure why. But feel free to repost it and I'll read it now. All right. So Casey's going to use a Tempest Scout to block here. And he's going to drop a Blizzard 2 there. So this is the street. This is the site that all the people move to between for free. So he can move anybody to back up Tempest 1 for free that he wants to. I hate the text on this site, by the way. I think it is completely unfair. But I don't get a vote anymore and things like that. And now my Twitch froze up again. This is really weird. Chat test. Yeah, see that I can read. Yeah, it must just be my laptop is just having issues with the old Twitcheroo. So I do apologize for that little glitch. Well, that happens too. Sometimes people just, they're listening while they're doing other stuff and they're not typing along in chat. Can't fault them for that. I do it myself sometimes. Especially if you're on like the West Coast or something and you're still at work. You're just kind of glancing down, seeing what's going on, what are we talking about, see if there's any spoilers on the screen, that kind of stuff. Any prize giveaways. So, no battle. He just moved back. Everybody flipped back here to the 7 side. Who we got? So we put Piet piloting, and he put the cadet with it, so that'll cover all the damage. All the attrition, not battle damage, but it will cover attrition. And now that he has flipped, he is adding 5 to his total. We look at over here, we've got 2, this is a 0, plus 1 ping damage. So he did 3 damage this turn. Casey lost Alter, Simaloo, and a Garrison. And he's going to pull a couple shields here. He's going to pull Weapons Display and Aim High. Brad's going to go pull a Docking Bay. Oh, none left. Alright, so he's checking out some Destiny, seeing what he's got floating around in there. Spies and defense value +2, immune to undercover. Yeah, this stuff you can do anywhere. That's another thing that probably should only be while with Stardust. It's like this part here is like their power +1 if with Stardust, but their defense value 2 anywhere. Maybe these two should be tied together. Something. Alright, so we got an Endor Commando team. That's a bunch of power. That's 8 power right there and 4 armor. Certainly potential trample bait, but it's going to give Sabine the power bonus potentially that she's going to need to cause some extra force loss here. We'll see who else Brad has in hand here that he can drop, and he also has the ability to cancel the Destiny with Cassian. If he's got, there's at least Baze is in his lost pile that he lost off the deck previous turn, so you can put him out of play. And instead, he's just going to opt to move away. So he'll move to Karita. That'll make this a non-battleground again, which means that Darkseid will have to pay to force drain. And instead, he's going to take this opportunity to just sort of reload his hand, which was down to just a couple cards. Smart. It's a patient play. I like it. He's solidified a little bit, so he's not in any risk of taking overflow here, unless, of course, Cassian gets trampled or something. But you can cancel that with the flip side of the objective. Cancel adjust drawn destiny, targeting the ability or defense value of your non-undercover rebel. So these guys have a lot less to fear from trample than in other decks. Besides the fact that they also got a defense value bonus. So they're even harder to trample. So you'll see like Sabine here, for example. What happened? So these guys here are defense value 6 because they're defense value +2 from the start from the objective. So they're already hard to trample as it is, and then if you happen to set up a successful draw, they just pitch a card and get rid of it. I know the thought process behind this. It was to prevent against EPP Mull from just cutting through a whole bunch of them, but I think it might have gone a little too far the other way. Thoughts about nerfing No Idea sometime soon? Yeah, there's a few tweaks you can make to No Idea. The question is how do you what part of all of these things do you make the adjustments to that still keeps it competitive but doesn't take it too far down? We've seen this a lot with other decks. You know, we've seen it with No Idea. We've seen it with Old Allies. We've seen it with I Want That Map, which has gone through several revisions, and it's just there's a number of pieces that all have good synergy together. So it's which ones can you tweak? You know, there's lots of good ideas tossed around, and it's, you know, do you want to start with subtle changes? Do you want to make big changes and cut it down and then build it back up? Or do you want to just try to slowly tweak it one thing at a time and see if you can fix it? Like if you make 10 men and just said, Rebel Spies are deploy -1 to Scarif, does that slow the deck down enough so that way they can't just sprawl all over your opponent's sites? I've seen some people talk about limiting force drains at non-battlegrounds to 1, so they can't just, you know, like Hunt Down or something like that plays like 3 2-0 sites. They just go spy, 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 and then, you know, it's drained for 6. That might be a way to limit that. For me, a lot of it comes from some of this. First off, Stardust is too easy to do damage from, and then there's too much on the backside here. It's like you give them a defense value bonus, and then you also prevent them from being targeted. It's like one or the other would be fine. I think both is too much. And then this regular move phase thing actually does come in handy quite often. So you could keep that. You could drop this text out, and you could put some type of restriction that, you know, possibly limits them to. Although that would probably have to be on the front side to really be effective. It would have to be on this for remainder of game. You may not deploy Jedi, Beige, Chariot, or Rebel Troopers are spies. Your force drains at non-battlegrounds are limited to 1. Would have to go there. All right, so Lieutenant Commander Arden's coming to battle. He's going to try and take out the Stardust here. So we've got a Rebel Reinforcements who's coming down for 3 force. There's a barrier. There's a barrier canceller. And now we're going to find out if Casey has the GIC. I'm going to assume he would, because who would go through all this and not have that? He is adding 5 to his total. Willard's going to transfer the Stardust. That's another thing that's kind of weird. I get it. It's thematic. They were handing that thing, you know, we're trying to hand it off in the movies. They kept handing it to all the Rebel troopers who were getting cut down by Vader. Ooh, that'd be a fun restriction you can put on Stardust. Unless present with Vader, may not transfer. Alright, so there's a Min Kun. Casey's going to take it into hand and redraw. And there's the masterful move that he retrieved last turn. So he's going to get a 5. Plus 5 here is going to be a 10. It's going to get him to 12. And Arden forfeits for 3. So he's kind of covering everything we're at right now. So we'll see what light side draws here. And he is going to exchange a card as well. Get something out of his lost pile. He's going to exchange the Min that he just took into hand to get Veers, who he lost earlier, out of the lost pile. Yeah, like you say, like you guys are all posted in chat, those are all good ideas. It's just finding the right recipe, because you want to take because the worst thing that can happen is you make a change to the deck and it doesn't do a whole lot, and the deck still runs rampant, and because we change something, or the design team or advocates decide to change something, it goes through a little bit, maybe a little round of play testing with the changes, and then it's released, and then people, yay, the deck got changed, and then they show up at the next major tournament, and they still have to face the same result. So that's just frustrating when it's like, hey, you nerfed you made a change at the deck, but it still won every game. It's still too strong. So then it's like, all right, so then the next one comes out and it's a much bigger hack, and now it's like, well, now this deck sucks and nobody can play it. So to try to avoid everybody reprinting their virtual slips like 4 or 5 times, um, they take their time with things. They don't react right away. Try and see if they can let the meta balance things out. And if it can't, well, then it's time to get the eraser out and make some changes. And then when you're looking at a deck that's composed of a lot of virtual cards, you start to look at which pieces of the pyramid, where can we? It's like Jenga. Which ones can we take out that don't like cripple the deck, but still do enough. All right, so Casey does have to play the Gick because Lightside drew pretty well there. So he drew Take the Initiative, which was a 3. Casey played Close Call to subtract 3 from it, which Saw then used his text once per game to cancel it. So he canceled the Close Call. So he got to keep his 3, which basically meant that Brad got to keep the 3, so he had some overflow to take. So he lost Commander Arden, and he would have had 3 battle damage. So he gicked the 3 damage. Not the ideal use of a gick, but when you're going to be taking several damage from Force Drains and whatnot the next turn, sometimes you need to save every card you can, and he's already getting fairly low on life force here. So he's taking a drain of 1 here. This is a drain of 2 because it can't be modified. And then 1 ping from the Stardust as well. So there goes a Trample, there goes a Binder, there goes a Vader Shuttle. And the Masterful Move also goes. Casey's getting pretty low here. Seems like Brad is kind of in the driver's seat. And there's Mighty Baal Organa. So he does have the Baal. That's going to give him that Alderaanian Force Drain bonus. So Leia's going to be a drain +1. I'm trying to think who else are Alderaanians. Nope, not that guy. But this guy is a native of Raltier, so that's kind of thematic. He's coming back to liberate it. He was a spy for their underground network. When he's in battle with the rebel leader, subtracts 1 from opponent's total battle destiny. Bale adds destiny, and he's a leader, while he's aboard a Corvette, and it can't be targeted by weapons. And then we got Blount, who's just another 4'6" guy, who also happens to... No, he's a Tala pilot. So we don't have any Red or Rogue Squadron pilots here. Bodie might count as a Rogue Squadron. Yep, he does. So Bodie will work with Wedge to cancel one of the opponent's destiny draws, it looks like. So this is an interesting combination of stuff in space. Light side's getting 2 because of Bale. Dark side's getting 2. Vader can subtract from a draw, but more likely he's going to want to subtract from the Bright Hope draw, as we discussed earlier. And he used the 10 men to get the retrieval as well. Maybe that's another thing that could come off that one retrieval. See how much of a difference that would make if that card didn't retrieve anymore. That's probably 4 or 5 cards per game that probably get retrieved from draw and stuff with 10 men. Maybe that's, the tendency. The tendency is always, well, you've got 5 lines. Let's use all 5 and fill them with game text. And that was kind of something we had stayed away from after the reset, was cards that have 3 or 4 lines of text. They have several separate functions. And design has loosened up those constraints the last couple sets. So you see you've got once per game get saw, spies deploy -1, and then retrieval. If you took this retrieval out, it would still once per game get saw and spies are deploy -1. Like, that's still pretty good. You don't necessarily need 3 functions on every card. Like, take Imperial Arrest Order, for example. All right, so it stops neighbor and lead. This one has 3 functions, I guess, so that's a bad example. Because it's got a forfeit bonus, neighbor and an Ellis, and it pulls docking base. All right, so Casey took the Vane into hand to cause a redraw with the Imperial Enforcement over here. He draws a 5, which Wedge canceled. Then he drew a separate 5, which then becomes a 9, but his total gets reduced by 1 from Jaren Webb to make it an 8. And then the Bacta tank is drawn, which Vader reduces, so he's got a 7 total. So Blount goes for 6. He'll have to lose 1 more guy. Casey's got 9 battle damage. Curiously enough, he forfeits Vader, who only covers 8, and keeps the Emperor. So he's going to have to lose a card on top of it. Did he exchange? He exchanged Vane from a hand to get Simu out of the lost pile. He throws away Ice Heart for the remaining damage, and Jaren Webb also goes. And Brad will pick up a couple extra cards. So successful turn for Brad. He's doing solid damage. He's whittling his opponent's space force down. Oh, and he added this guy. When deployed, may get throw me in the charge. Opponent's troopers are power and forfeit -1 here. Okay. And he can use 2 force to release an imprisoned captive here. And he's a scout, so if you're looking to play Rescue the Princess, you could strike planning for Crix, pull this guy, then deploy him. He's not a spy, so he could go to the Death Star. And then any move phase, bam, you rescue Leia and then run away. I guess Casey opted to keep the Emperor because he's just going to end up moving this over, I guess. And he wants to make sure he keeps the extra destinies. Because with Wedge canceling 1, he's going to be in trouble. I was just figuring he would have lost the Emperor and then found a way to battle and like exchange to get the Emperor back and then just redeploy him for free. And that may end up happening on a future turn. So after thinking about it for a good minute, Casey does decide to grab the rescue. I guess you're thinking about what else does your opponent play that you'd be worth grabbing. Probably not a whole lot. Maybe take the initiative or something if you plan on battling a bunch. But especially this late stage of the game, taking out a recycling 5, that's not a bad move. Marek Steele, he helps against substituting. Opponent may not cancel or substitute battle destiny draws here, so that's pretty good. That gives Wedge, it says screw you to Wedge. We like that. And then while piloting an Imperial Starfighter, it's maneuver +2, and he draws 1 if unable to otherwise. So now your Emperor's shuttle, check this out, it's maneuver 5. That's right. A little harder to shoot down with those X-Wing cannons that most people aren't playing. And it's immune to less than 214 million, 2 billion, sorry, 147,483,648 attrition. I don't know you could ever draw that high. You probably could have stopped at like 8,000 attrition, 9999. But give them credit, the programming team. They have a sense of humor. I don't know if that number means anything. Maybe that's somebody's phone number. Probably too many digits for a phone number, but not 10 digits. Area code, base number, regular number, right? 214-748-3648. I wonder whose phone number that is. We're going to Google this. It'd be like that old song, right? Everybody would just be calling the number that they're for the immunity to attrition. Asking for Jenny. All right. So without his destiny draws being canceled, Casey's able to draw the Wall of Fire. He swaps to get Vader back. Then he draws to something special, so he's got 10, plus he added 5 to the total to give him 15. Brad drew a 4. Brad drew a Jyn Urso, and taking them with us. I'm sorry, he retrieved Jyn. So he drew taking them with us and a Rebel Trooper reinforcements to give him a total of 9. He drew a spy because he drew a trooper, so he retrieved Jyn, and now he's using the Bright Hope and subtracting 4. So Darkseid's going to have to lose 4 cards here. I can't imagine that he's going to want. It's a tough spot to be in. You're down to 13, 14 cards total. Losing 4 cards is pretty huge. But at the same point in time, you kind of need to keep this together if you want to have any chance of maintaining this system. Because if you lose Marek, then you're kind of down. He is going to lose Marek, though. It's just a matter of resource management at this point. He doesn't have a whole lot left to work with. And Lightside has the ability. They lose Bodhi and they lose Wedge. So if you're thinking about that, of what they're going to lose anyway, that's Marek's a good price to pay, because their other option was really, lose Bale and the Tantive to cover the 11 attrition or so that they had, if they wanted to keep Wedge and Bodhi together. Although Bodhi may have been on the Tantive. Alright, and then Mara's going to move over as well to back it up. So that's kind of what you have to do here. He'll also bounce one of these Tempest Scouts over. Oh, I don't know that I like that. He took out the wrong guy. Take Piet out, put the Tempest Scout, put the Garrison guy back in. Or put the Cadet back in. Now, he does only satisfy attrition against you. He doesn't cover battle damage as well, but still. And Veers is going to get in and pilot that. He still has the ability for Cassian. Alright, so he's moving the Cadet over. Which happens for free because they're moving to the street anyway, so it's not like he spent extra force to do it. And he can leave him outside, because even if he's hit, that's fine. His game tech still works. And he actually gets a power bonus. So he's power 1 and gets a +1 from one of these sites. And Brad's going to set up a 5 with quite a mercenary where he can track that around. And we'll see what he wants to, where he wants to engage here. Bale's still alive, so this is going to get a drain bonus. So he's going to get a drain of 1, a drain of 2, and a ping of 1. So he's still doing 4 damage, which is why it makes it even harder for trying to keep Marek Steel on a previous turn there. Because you lose 4 cards to keep Marek, and then lose 4 cards to this, and you only had 14 cards left, so you're pretty much dead at that point. So Casey's only option there was to lose Marek, and he made the right play. It's just the largest value for a float that your computer memory can compute. Bale shouldn't work here, should only work with stolen data tapes on table. Oh, you're right. Thanks, Ming. See? Read the card. I'm so used to playing Bale and Diplo, I forget that the force drain part requires Senate majority or stolen data tapes on table. Well, no, Stardust is considered stolen data tapes, is it not? I don't know. I guess not. I guess this is referring to a specific card. Stardust isn't a persona of that? Yeah, it's referring to a specific card. So, no Force Drain extra with Leia. I was mistaken. Thank you for correcting me. So we only lost 3. The point still stands. All right, so what do we got? We've got a Hera showing up. We've got a Bacta tank hitting the table, and we've got a Chirrut now. So we've got 2 Battle Destiny being drawn here, and he's got Chirrut's once per game ability as well to allow him to recirculate. He used, this is another thing too, he used the regular move text to move Cassian away. This should also only work on Scarif. Letting them make a regular move anywhere, not a fan of that. Alright, so he's going to draw 2 Destiny and likely cancel his opponents with Cassian here. Those are 2 pretty good Destiny draws. So he's got a 6 sitting on top. Yeah, you kind of have to cancel this with Cassian because that's going to be, it's only a 3, but he's adding 4 to it. That makes it a 7. If you cancel it, now he's got no draw and therefore nothing to modify to add the +4. So we'll go ahead and do that. He'll win the battle. Casey's going to take 9 battle damage and 7 attrition. Colonel David covers the 7 attrition, but then he's still looking at 2 more battle damage. This is looking pretty strong for Brad to get the win here. Oh, he's actually, I'm sorry, forfeit +1 from the office. So he actually forfeited for 8. Imperials at same related sites are power and forfeit +1. And he top decks the Tarkin that he drew for Destiny. And then he'll just move away. But herein does lie a little bit of a problem. He does not draw Battle Destiny here. And he just has no force to react or anything like that. These guys have good power and very high forfeit. But I don't know if Casey noticed that. He activated all of it. I don't know that any of these guys move as to react or anything. Quick chat, what am I missing? Oh, Casey's going to back up and activate less. I was going to say, did he maybe just realize, like, wait a second, maybe I need to leave 1 to battle? Yep, he's going to activate, he's going to leave 1. So maybe he did just realize. So check out what that Destiny draw is with the Emperor. We'll get a couple of drains in here for 1, 2, 3. Not sure what he's got in his hand here. Because again, he only left 1 when Veers draws 2. Do you prevent? No, these guys just do power and forfeit. So he must really be thinking he needs to deploy and move some stuff with what he's got left available. That he needs all 8. And there's Vader going off planet to block the drain of 2 over there. And he's going to battle those guys. That is an interesting move. He's just drawn a 3 here, which just becomes a 7. His opponent draws a 1. And actually does end up losing the battle, so he does get to retrieve a card. But, 7, huh? Yeah, this guy's only forfeit 5. That's a nice benefit to Krita as well. If you do not occupy, all your troopers are forfeit -1. So a lot of these guys in the No Idea deck are troopers. So their forfeit being modified certainly does change things a little bit. So that 7 actually means he has to get rid of both guys. So Vader successfully clears this site. The Stardust will bounce back. Leia will just pick it right back up to cause the ping damage. But he does block a big drain. And then Piet will just bounce away for free. All right, so Casey's got some life left. He's still going to take 1, 2, 3 damage next turn. Oh, 2 damage. He's going to move the cadet over. And since the objective is flipped back, he can't move somebody, because that would be dangerous too if he could move. Make a regular move with your spy. So he certainly could have moved Cassian or somebody back over, so I think that would have had enough ability to draw against the Tempest Scout. But now that he's on the 0 side, I mean, supposedly, allegedly, he could deploy, if he controls 2 Scarif locations, so he could deploy a guy to the docking bay, flip, but he can't move because the move is during control phase. So he'll just do his quick drains, drain a 1, ping for 1 with Stardust. Brad activated all of it, but he hasn't used Chirrut yet. And Chirrut has the game text that says, once per game you may recirculate. So he can spend quite a bit of his force deploying people. Taking Saw back into hand for 3, deploying Saw for 3 somewhere. Hey, there's Tadu Cephla. When deployed, may draw bottom card of used pile. You can also subtract Rex's the number of your spies out of play. And if we check our out of play pile, which is up here, we can see that Ezra and Blount are out of play. So he's got 2 cards out of play. And there's Luke aboard the Bright Hope. That'll get him. Well, Luke has to be out of Battleground, which he currently is. So you can get 1 retrieval, because Tanith makes this a Battleground. And there's Saw. And now he does the once per game to recirculate. So he can subtract 2 from whatever Darkside draws. Careful planning to activate force? No. No careful planning. He uses once per game to recirculate, but doesn't battle. I don't know if he was tracking and he wanted to use that X number of cards around to shift some stuff where it would be most helpful. Or if he thought he was going to battle and then changed his mind. So he moves Chirrut over. No jetpack for her, so she doesn't have extra land speed. So Chirrut moves over by himself in front of Blizzard 2 and Ozzel. These other guys slide this way where they've got a ridiculous amount of power at the city. This does not look promising, though. You're talking about 8 to 4, and he's adding 4 to his total. So we'll have to assume that one of these two cards in Brad's hand is a Hujix. Casey's going to look for a Force Lightning, verify those 3 remaining Destiny. Figure out what exactly he wants to do. And then he'll drain for 3. That'll take Brad down to about 9 cards left. So, competitive game, close game. Both guys are doing a decent job here of late game resource management. Luke finally hit the table, so he's going to be retrieving 1 a turn. Yep, wrong data plans. Oh, there goes the second Luke. Combined fleet action and a rebel barrier, so Brad's down to 1 card in hand. Casey's got nothing in hand, so he doesn't have anybody else to deploy to back up the Blizzard 2. Kimura, thank you for renewing your subscription for month number 4. Just 2 more months, and you hit month number 6, and then you're eligible to receive a prize. Don't forget to send screenshots. Alright, so Casey's going to battle. He's going to draw the Justice again. His opponent's going to draw the 5 he tracked previously. So Ozzel will die, but he will win the battle, so he'll get to retrieve a card or a character. It's retrieve an Imperial. It's not even like topmost, right? If you win a battle, retrieve an Imperial. So he can go get any Imperial he wants. So he'll find the one that has the highest Destiny. Min. He's Destiny 4. Ozzel dies. Chirrut dies. And he's got... Chirrut forfeits for 5. He had 6 battle damage. That's not too bad. He's just to lose 1 card. He top decks Rogue One. And now if you're Casey, you probably move these guys, split them up or something. Piet goes this way. Oh, he's going to move the ships too. He's going to block this drain. He's going to move Mara over. Yeah, if he's going to stack up like this where he's getting 2 Battle Destiny and making you lose 2, definitely a good idea to move away from that. So you can move Piet over here so you make sure you're secured and getting Destiny there. Um, and then move the Cadet to the street just to get away from everything. Or move them both over to the Blizzard 2. It doesn't necessarily matter. Your opponent's not flipped, so he's not moving away. He's only got 1 card in hand. You're not really super worried about that. This is drawing 2 Destiny here in space because it's alone. And you're still adding several to the total. You'll add 1, 2, 3, 4 to your total, which is about what they'll subtract. They'll subtract 2 or 3 from it. Possibly 5 if he sets up something else here. Oh, he's going to move the Blizzard Walker over. That I'm not sure I like. Because while the Cadet covers the attrition, he doesn't cover the power damage, the power difference, and he doesn't cover the 2 force loss from Sabine. I just give him the drain of 1. Because if he wins the battle, you lose 2 from Sabine anyway. But he does successfully block some of his opponent's damage. For now, he's forcing his opponent to save force and battle him. But I don't necessarily see that as being a problem. Although he just activated all the way back down to the 5. So maybe he's got bigger plans here. Maybe Brad's just going to play the patient long game. He's just going to retrieve 1 with Luke. He's going to do the 1 ping damage. And maybe he'll just battle here and clear Vader. Or try to clear Vader. He could pick Cheer It Up out of the Bacta tank for 4. Won't be able to redeploy him, but he can at least take him back into hand. And then, like, battle here, kill Vader, get your drain back, forfeit whoever you lose into the tank. You can subtract from your opponent's destiny. Nope. Oh, right. Never mind. They're to play -1 from 10 men. Ha So it only costs 3 to pick him up. See, I don't play No Idea a lot. I try to avoid it just because everybody else plays it so much. Plus, there's too many cards to read. I'm old. I don't like reading. So it's 3 to pick him up, 3 to redeploy him. That leaves him with 2 force, so he can battle for 1. So Vader's going away. He's going to peek at the top card of his opponent's reserve deck. Does he have the ability to move it? Return it or place it on top of owner's force pile. So he will make his opponent activate it. So if it was a decent destiny, it just got moved. We'll draw his tracked 5. Is it alright to wait to month 12 to send a screenshot? Absolutely. If you want to wait to month 12 and send me a screenshot, that's perfectly fine. And then I will send you all of the prizes that I have not sent you up until that point. So he draws a min for Battle Destiny, which is a 4, which will get totaled and become an 8. And Taidu Cephala can subtract 2 from that, which would make sense, to make it just a 6. Which only Saw would actually cover. Because of the forfeit -1 from Kurita, Cephala doesn't actually cover that. Casey is going to exchange. He's going to swap surface defense, and he's going to pick up trample. Dun dun dun. Here's the only problem with that. He takes the trample into hand, but as soon as he loses Vader, he's going to flip. So trample's useless. And I don't know why, but Brad did not subtract. Maybe he didn't realize it was a declared action. Maybe he just didn't think it mattered. I don't know, but he did not do this X subtract. There was nothing that prevented the destinies from being modified. So, yeah. Now the objective flips. And Saw goes in the Bacta tank. See, he lost Cephala when he didn't need to. Maybe he really wanted the bottom card drawn into hand, and he planned on losing both guys anyway. I don't know. That seems like a minor misplay to me. Unless he really wanted that bottom card. Can he trample before the battle's over? No. Once you get into the draw stuff, that is no longer an option. He's going to try to trample Sabine. And he missed anyway. Or does trample still target ability? Yeah, trample does still target ability, so that actually would get Sabine. It's one of the rare cards that does not target defense value that was never updated. So he'll throw some random guy out of play. That's Cornhorn in this case. And that cancels it, but it puts the trample back. He can use Blizzard 4 and take it right back into hand next turn, which he can then try again, which will then just get canceled again. Because he's flipped. But yes, to answer your other question, there's no action window between once battle destinies are drawn and whatnot. Only very specific actions are allowed, like the biker scouts we saw earlier. Ooh, I'll have to read what Wall of Fire does in a second. And all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's no opportunity until you can forfeit guys and play stuff as responses to that. It's stuff that responds to the calculation of power totals, which is why like Bright Hope works. But other than that, there are no actions that can be played until the battle's over, at which point in time the automatic actions of the objective flipping take place. They actually happen during the forfeit step once the Vader's gone there. So Wall of Fire, if you have a piloted AT-AT present at a site, target any number of opponent's troopers present at same or adjacent exterior site. Draw Destiny. If Destiny greater than the number of troopers targeted, they are lost. So he just targeted one trooper, the Endo Commando team, and as long as he drew higher than one, they are lost. Because also this does not target ability or defense value, it does not appear that this could be used to cancel it either. So now the commando team is gone. And that's going to bring the power back in line a little bit more. Light side is still getting 2 destiny draws here though, but dark side gets 1 that's plus 4 to the total. That's going to pretty much negate that. But Casey's got no hand left either. But he's not looking at taking much damage. It's 1 from Stardust, and this is a drain of 1. Because this can be modified now, because Saw's not there. So, again, Casey continuing to do a good job here of resource management, of grinding this game down as close as he can get it. Just not sure where else he has opportunities to win any battles or anything here. He's just going to do drain of 1, 1, and 1. Maybe that's enough. He's doing 3 damage. His opponent is doing 2 damage. But he's retrieving 1 with Luke. So basically, in essence, they're both doing 2 damage a sequence. Six plus 1 in hand is 7. They're tied. But he does have this guy over here as well that he can pick up and throw back down somewhere, possibly. If he does that, though, he can't retrieve with Luke. It's a weird little spot here. This game actually got a little bit closer at the end than I thought it was going to be. Casey is going to battle into the pile of guys. He's going to draw the min, which will become an 8. But Lightside's going to get 2 draws here. And if they do draw something low, they have the possibility of using Hera to redraw it. They're also going to draw an 8. So that's actually going to tip the scales more, I think. Because now Casey's got... Oh, he reduces it to 1 with Decree. Okay, that was good. Decree does reduce that to 1. But he's still going to have to lose a card. And he's got 2 battle damage. And this guy is only forfeit 1. So that guy sucks up all the extra attrition. And Sabine covers everything for Lightside. And now he's got 1 battle damage to take. And he does lose the Justice from his used pile. And now he's got to find some people to move around. He's got to spend some force. Just going to pay 2 and move these guys over here. Just to put some cards back in your reserve deck so you have Destiny to draw. But yeah, this is close. He's got 5 left. Brad's going to drain for 1 and 1 and take him down to 3. Retrieve with Luke. And he can take Saw back into hand. He's going to cost 3 to pick up. Because I remember it this time. And then if you want it to... Maybe he doesn't even do that. Maybe he just... Is it worth it to even battle here and then draw and subtract? You're getting 2 battle destiny to his 2 battle destiny. Yeah, I don't think that's worth it. I think you're enjoying this little stalemate here. It may even be worthwhile to just move these ships back. Or Hell, you could transfer Luke over, move this over here, and send the Bright Hope to Scarif, but this just doesn't get you a drain bonus, so that's not even worth it. Never mind. Just babbling. He's still flipped, so you don't have any opportunity to do anything like that. So he's going to retrieve with Luke. That's step one. Drain for one, Stardust for one. Casey will lose the 2 cards from hand that he drew. It's going to leave him with 3. It's always a good idea to talk to yourself too, especially in late game situations, especially when you're playing at home and nobody else can hear you. Um, just to work out all these different scenarios, because there's a lot of them at this point. There's a lot of different little ways that you can move and possibly squeak out a little bit of extra damage here and there. Basically, at this point, with Casey's got 3 cards left. Drain 1, ping 1. Brad wins in 2 turns. He needs 2 turns to win. He's taking 1, 2, 3 damage a turn, so he would just barely squeak it out. But in this case, he's going to move away. He's going to block this drain of 1. Because he knows Casey also can't, battle and move and shuffle stuff around. So I think Brad's going to still squeak out the win here. But if this were a match play situation, again, with the NPC coming up, or the GEM PC, which in this case it is. This is a GEM PC game, don't forget. So Casey keeping this, to a single-digit win for Brad certainly changes things drastically for game number 2. That's the other thing. This isn't an OCS game. Otherwise, probably Casey might have scooped a turn or 2 ago. Instead, what he's just going to do here, he drained, and then he's going to draw up before Brad can retrieve 1 more with Luke, or find any other way, maybe 10 men to battle him and draw a guy. So he's going to do it right now. He's going to grind it out. He's going to take a loss of 6, which is incredibly manageable for game 2 of a match play situation, especially with light side, where light side has more retrieval options. Trying to win by 6, certainly attainable. So good luck to them both. We're going to wrap up the show tonight. Thank you guys very much for tuning in and watching. Looks like there's probably still some more games going on here. Some more people trying to get some OCS games in. But thank you guys again for watching, and for renewing your subscriptions, and for the new guys who are following us. We always appreciate the support. And tune in to Queso and Tartag's show on Wednesday night. I don't know who their special guest is this week. It's not me. Unless they call me and ask me at 5:30 on Wednesday. No, I'm just kidding. It's not me. I'm sure they'll have something exciting. They always do. Possibly more spoilers. Who knows? I know there's still some more cards in playtesting, so they may not be ready for spoiling just yet. And we'll see you back here next Monday night. You guys take care. Have a great night. Thanks for watching.